Okay, looks like everything's working okay. Uh, if you can't hear me, you'll have to let me know, but everything seems to be working on my end here. Tonight we're going to be studying the Psalm 49. 49 has several titles to it that people that have written various sermons and various things on it. One of them has been What Money Can't Buy, and the other one is We're All Going to Die, and another title on it was The Revolution that we're going to have. But tonight I'm going to be looking at the title What Money Cannot Buy, because as you realize this, as you go through life, you're going to have to realize your mortality, that you are immortal and you will always exist, but you're not going to always exist in the body that you're in now. So just from hearing this psalm read, you can understand how different it is from most others. Psalm 49 could well sit in the book of Proverbs or Ecclesiastes as wisdom literature. These are teachings to help us guide our lives and make good decisions. So let us begin to consider the wisdom of Psalm 49. We can see from the title of it that this psalm was written by Korahites. These are descendants of Korah, the rebellious leader from the time of Moses. Some of his family survived, and from their line came the prophet Samuel. These sons of Korah were Levites from the family of Kohath. By David's time, it seemed they had served in the musical aspect of the temple worship in 2 Chronicles 20:19. It is from this time period that they wrote several psalms in Scripture. Their psalms tend to emphasize a longing to experience the glory of the Lord and to be restored and redeemed by Adonai, which is another name for God. So this psalm was written by a descendant of a prideful rebel, a rebel who was swallowed up by the earth straight to Sheol, the place of the dead. And keep this in mind as we walk through this psalm. Psalm 49 begins with the unknown Korahite inviting us all to gather around and consider the wisdom given to him by the Lord. The teaching of the song is simple and sublime, present and perpetual. This psalm touches the high water mark of Old Testament faith in a future life. The psalmist invites everyone, rich or poor, high in status and low status, to come together and hear his psalm. His message is for all people, not just Jewish or rich people. This is a song on the lyre, or what we call harp today, but it is also a proverb and a hidden teaching, not how most psalms start. So this is less a prayer and more of a story in the style of Proverbs or Ecclesiastes for teaching us how to live. The teaching of the song is simple and it's sublime. It is not present just as much today as it was at the time it was written. And this psalm touches the high water mark of Old Testament faith in a future life. As we start with it in verses 1 through 4, hear this, all people. Give ear, all inhabitants of the world, both low and high, rich and poor together. My mouth shall speak wisdom, and the meditation of my heart shall give understanding. I will incline my ear to a Proverbs. I will disclose my dark saying on the harp. Now hear this, all peoples. The psalmist spoke to everyone, especially including both rich and poor together, and to all nations and tribes. He hoped to guide those who were troubled about the wealth of the wicked. And then the Bible talks a lot about the wealth of the wicked as it goes in the Old Testament and it goes into the New Testament. So there are 4 types of riches. There are riches in what you have, riches in what you do, riches in what you know, and riches in what you are, which is your riches of character. The psalmist spoke of those who are only rich in the first way, the least important kind of wealth. It is evident that he was conscious of the greatness of the thing he sang, in that he commenced by calling all people of all classes to listen. Like most of the wisdom writings, this psalm speaks to men in the common humanity, not only to Israelites in their special hour of bond of covenant with God. My mouth shall speak wisdom. Other songs praise and pray to God. This psalm teaches wisdom and imparts understanding. The psalm will focus on the folly of trusting in wealth or envying others just for their wealth. It sets the present prosperity of those who don't know God in an eternal perspective. Van German wrote this according that somewhat long introduction to the heart of this psalm. He keeps them in suspense by impressing on them the importance of this discussion. My dark sayings, the better translation is riddle. The psalmist wasn't interested in hiding mystical knowledge, but in things that were simply difficult to understand and perceive. He hoped that doing it on the harp might help the message to be better understood and remembered. The New England Bible paraphrases it well and tell on the harp how I read the riddle. The doctrine of life eternal and the judgment to come, here more clearly delivered than anywhere else in almost the Old Testament, is a mystery. Verse 2, what money can't buy, why should I fear in the days of evil? Part 2, when the iniquity at my heels surround me, those who trust in their wealth and boast in the multitude of their riches, none of them can by any means redeem his brother, nor give to God a ransom for him. For the redemption of their soul is costly, and it shall cease forever, that he should continue to live eternally and not see the pit. Now why should I fear in the days of evil when the iniquities at my heels surround me? The psalmist made a contrast between himself and those he will mention in the following lines. He is in contrast to them. He has no reason to fear in the days of evil. Days of evil to others cannot be so to me, for the presence of God transmutes the evil to good. Those who trust in their wealth and boast of the multitude of their riches. When the psalmist speaks of the rich, that is what it means. It isn't merely the possessions of material things that makes one rich in the sense that Psalm 49 means it. It is to trust in that wealth and to boast in their riches. This is simply idolatry. Though the Bible presents several godly rich men to us, such as Abraham and King David, who by modern measures would probably be billionaires. They were men who still trusted in the Lord and made their boast in him. They did not trust in their wealth or boast in their riches. One can know if he puts his trust in his wealth or if he finds too much peace and security by his accounts and holdings. And if he despairs when such things decline, he can ask the question, what loss in life would trouble me most, material or spiritual? One can know if he boasts in his riches, if he finds deepest satisfaction in gaining and measuring his wealth, and if he looks for ways to display his riches. He can ask the question, what am I appropriately proud of, material things or spiritual things? In general, God's answer to these things for the rich is to practice radical generosity, a way for them to declare their trust in the Lord and to guard against a boast in their riches. Boyce pointed out that in some ways this psalm is a commentary on the story of the rich fool in Luke 12:15-21. Jesus applied the principle from that story. So it is he who lays up treasure for himself and is not rich toward God. Psalm 49 has in mind just that kind of man. None of them can by any means redeem his brother, nor give to God a ransom. The psalmist revealed the greatest limitation of idolatry is trusting and boasting in material wealth. This idol is of no help in the spiritual world. Money itself cannot rescue a soul because the redemption of their soul is costly. That is, beyond the ability of material things to purchase it. The redemption of their souls is a spiritual work accomplished only by God's atoning work or sacrifice. This sacrifice begins in the Garden of Eden in Genesis 3:21. It was practiced among the patriarchs, Genesis 22:13-14. and instituted in a sacrificial system in the Old Testament in Leviticus 1 through 7. The concept of a substitutionary atoning sacrifice was fulfilled and perfected by the work of Jesus at the cross. Isaiah 53 verses 10 and 11 and Hebrews 10 and 12 and many others. This spiritual work is what provides for the redemption of their souls. And therefore all the money that has been given for masses, dirges, trentals, etc., this is for different religions, has been cast away, seeing Christ is the only Redeemer, and in the other world money beareth no mastery. Voltaire was a French atheist, an enemy of Christianity, and his popularity made him very wealthy. Yet when Voltaire came to die, it is reported that he cried to his doctor in pained desperation, "I will give you half of all I possess if you give me 6 more months of life." Voltaire died in despair. Redeemed and ransomed, the ransom picture is doubly appropriate, since being held to ransom is as much the hazard of the very rich as redemption is the need of the very poor. That he should continue to live eternally and not see the pit. Those who have the redemption of their souls will live eternally and not see the pit. Here we see the concept of Sheol, which is the pit, as more than just the grave, but the ultimate and empty destination of those who reject God. The pit, the Chaldees understood it of hell, to which the wicked man's death is as a trapdoor. It's one-way trapdoor because you only go one way. You cannot come back. True wealth in the world to come in verses 10 to 12. Unreliable wealth and limited honor. For he sees wise men die. Likewise the fool and the senseless person perish, and leave their wealth to others. Their inner thought is not that their houses will last forever, their dwelling places to all generations. They call their lands after their own names. Nevertheless man, though in honor, does not remain. He is like the beast that perish. The fool and the senseless person perish, and leave their wealth to others. Much in the pattern of the writer of Ecclesiastes, in Ecclesiastes 6:1-2, the psalmist noted that we can't take our material wealth with us beyond into the world beyond. Money is a monarch of this world, but not of the next. We can't take our material wealth with us to the world beyond, but there is a real sense in which we can send it on ahead. Jesus spoke of using our present material resources to store up treasure in heaven in Mark 10:21. Our material wealth can do us good in the world to come, but that happens through kingdom-minded generosity more than accumulation. Their inner thoughts is that their houses will last forever, hungering for some kind of immortality, that they trust in riches, believe their estates will last forever. Beyond their own life to all generations, they memorialize themselves by calling their lands after their own names. This is the ambition still of many that take little care to know that their names are written in heaven, but strive to propagate themselves as they are able upon earth. Nimrod by his tower, Absalom by his pillar, Alexander by his Alexandria, but the name of the wicked shall rot in Proverbs 10:7. Common enough is his practice. His grounds are made to bear the groundling's name. He might as well write it on the water. Men have even called countries by their own name, but what are they better for? The idle compliment, even if men perpetuate their nomenclature. Nevertheless man, though in honor, does not remain. Though a man may have some measure of honor through estates, or descendants, or memorials, he still dies, just like animals die. Therefore the truly wise man or woman does not trust in riches or boast in wealth. He prepares for eternity by trusting God and making their boast in the Lord. He is like the beast that perish. It is the ability to think and reason that sets human beings apart from the remainder of creation. Yet how animal-like we are when we fail to consider the shortness of our days and prepare for how we will spend eternity. Verse 13, to pass to perish. This is the way of those who are foolish, and of their prosperity who approve their saying. The Selah there means silence. This is the way of those who are foolish. The psalmist noted that the way that values the material over the spiritual and that does not prepare for the world to come is foolish and will be revealed as so. And of their prosperity who approve their sayings, there is a second foolish way, to be a descendant of the one who trusted and boasted and to prove the worldview. This is foolish and will be revealed as so. Of their prosperity, grace is not hereditary, but sordid worldliness goes from generation to generation. The race of fools never dies out. Who approves of their sayings? Those who agree with rich people's words, often benefiting from their power and prestige, will also die and be no more. In verses 14 and 15, the dominion of the unright. Like sheep they are laid in the grave, and death shall feed on them. The upright shall have dominion over them in the morning, and their beauty shall be consumed in the grave, far from their dwelling. But God will redeem my soul from the power of the grave, for he shall receive me, Selah. Like a sheep they are laid in the grave, death shall feed on them. The psalmist painted a ghastly picture. A man is buried like an animal, in Psalms 49:12, and death consumes his material body. Of their once beautiful body, their beauty shall be consumed in the grave. The idea is that the upright, those who did not trust or boast in riches, have a beauty beyond the material and therefore beyond the grave. Those whose beauty was mainly measured in mirrors and bank accounts will find their beauty shall be consumed in the grave. There is a better beauty to live for. Like sheep they are laid in the grave. Those fatlings of the world, those brainless persons that will not be warned by other men's harms, but walk on in the same dark and dangerous way. Why like sheep? I answer not for the innocent of their lives, but for their impotency in death. As if it has been said, when once death took them in hand to lay them in the grave, they could make no more resistance than a sheep can against a lion or a wolf. The upright shall have dominion over them in the morning. When that morning finally comes, those who did not trust or boast in wealth, the upright, will be justified. They will have dominion over those who lived and died with a focus on the material and with no urgency to prepare for the world to come. Yes, there is a mastery over Sheol and death, and it is found in uprightness. But God will redeem my soul from the power of the grave, for he shall receive me. The psalmist was confident that he was among the upright, and not among those who foolishly trusted and boasted in riches. The one who trusted and boasted in riches has no power to ransom or redeem their soul, in Psalms 49, verses 7 through 8. The psalmist understood that God and God alone had the power to redeem my soul from the power of the grave. And God gave a similar staggering announcement in Hosea 13:14. I will ransom them from the power of the grave. I will redeem them from death. O death, I will be your plague. O grave, I will be your destruction. The power of the grave is staggering. Every graveyard tells of the power that death has over humanity. Yet God is greater than the power of the grave, and in Jesus Christ we can even taunt the grave, saying, O death, where is your sting? O Hades, where is your victory? 1 Corinthians 15:55. As a wisdom psalm, this shares many characteristics of the book of Ecclesiastes. Yes, the words, but God, begins a significant difference. The great but God in Psalms 49:15 is one of the mountaintops of Old Testament hope. It brings out the assurance of victory over death, which Ecclesiastes leaves concealed. God will redeem my soul. We must remember that a redeem is a commercial term, meaning to buy out, or to buy a slave so that he or she never again returns to the marketplace. Spiritually, it refers to God's work in buying us out of sin's marketplace and I'm putting this in myself, and out of the hands of the devil, and setting us free. Who can do this? No one but God. For he shall receive me. The assurance and confidence of the psalmist is worthy of note and should be taken as an example for us. He was confident that God would receive the one who trusted in him and made his boast in the Lord. That he and me confirm that this is not salvation at arm's length, but face to face. The word receive is more positive than it may sound to us. It is Enoch's word, for God took him. So it's used the same word here that they used in Genesis 5:24. So now we look at verses 16 to 20. Practical application of this wisdom. Do not be afraid when one becomes rich, when the glory of his house is increased. For when he dies, he shall carry nothing away. His glory shall not descend after him. While he lives, he blesses himself. For men will praise you when you do well for yourself. He shall go to the generations of his father. They shall never see light. A man who is in honor, yet does not understand, is like the beasts that perish. Do not be afraid when one becomes rich. This might seem like a strange way to phrase the matter. Most of us are not consciously afraid at the prosperity of another or when the glory of his house is increased. Yet the fears may come in subtle ways. Afraid because I think they may prosper at my expense. Afraid because perhaps material things matter more than spiritual things do. Afraid because maybe God does not govern the universe as I believe he does. Afraid because there may be no reward for the righteous or punishment for the wicked in the world beyond. There is no moral government to the universe. Afraid because the jerks of the world won't get what's coming to them. When he dies, he shall carry nothing away. The psalmist assures us that our reasons for fear are unfounded. The fool who trusted and boasted in riches can take nothing with him to the world beyond. His glory shall not descend after him, and all the glory he will ever deserve he has had in his life. For the upright, the opposite is true. Their glory shall ascend after them, and they will in some sense be brought to glory, Hebrews 2:10, and even obtain God's glory in the world to come in 2 Thessalonians 2:14. For those who trust and boast in riches, this world is the best they will ever have. For the upright who look to God for their redemption, this world is the worst they will ever have it. His glory shall not descend after him. His worship, his honor, his lordship, and his grace will alike find their titles ridiculed in the tomb. Hell knows no aristocracy. Your dainty and delicate sinners find that eternal burnings have no respect for their affections and refinements. While he lives, he blesses himself, for men will praise you. Yes, the men and women who trust and boast in riches are often pleased with themselves, and others are pleased with them. Yet that is short-term. Each will die and go to the generation of his fathers. For men will praise you. The generality of men worship success, however it may be gained. The color of the winning horse is of no matter. It is the winner, and that is enough. They shall never see light. The psalmist only had a dim understanding of punishment in the world to come, but he knew it to be in some sense a place of darkness. This is reserved for those who are in honor yet do not understand. A man who is in honor yet does not understand is like the beasts that perish. The psalm ends by repeating the warning first given in Psalms 49:12. It is the grave, warning to those who have honor to this world but no understanding. Their honor in this world will not preserve them in the next. The banker rots as fast as the delivery boy, and the peer becomes as putrid as the pauper. Oh, that wicked men would think of this before the cold grave holds their body and hot hell holds their souls. What is the difference between a rich man going to hell and a rich man going to heaven? Generosity and giving to the poor. The Bible consistently emphasizes the moral imperative to care for the poor, framing generosity as an act of faith, justice, and worship. It teaches that helping the poor is not optional, but a core part of following Christ, with rewards promised both in this life and the next. The scriptures highlight that true generosity comes from the heart, valuing sacrifice over abundance, and that God sees the needs of the poor as his own. The command to care for the poor is foundational, with God instructing the Israelites to open their hands wide to the needy and poor in their land, acknowledging that poverty will always exist. Jesus directly called individuals to give all their possessions to the poor to gain treasure in heaven, exemplified in the story of the rich young ruler who was told to sell everything and follow him. The poor widow who gave 2 small copper coins, all she had to live on, is praised by Jesus as giving more than all the wealthy contributors, highlighting that God values the heart behind the giving more than the amount given. Generosity is linked to divine reward. Giving to the poor is described as lending to the Lord, who will repay the giver for their deed. The Bible teaches that those who ignore the cries of the poor will themselves go unanswered by God, underscoring the seriousness of neglecting the needy. Providing for the poor is not about material aid, but also about building relationships. Jesus invited the poor, the crippled, the lame, and the blind to feast, modeling inclusion and community. The principle of giving is tied to one's treasure and heart, with the instruction to sell possessions, give to the poor, and store up treasures in heaven, where they cannot be stolen or destroyed. The ultimate example of generosity is Christ himself, who, though rich, became poor so that believers might become rich through his poverty. How close it must be to God's heart if the Creator of the universe encourages and instructs us so many times to care for and even donate to the poor, the orphan, the widow, and the afflicted. Once I delved into making this list of verses, it was hard to stop at 20. I was struck anew by the strong action verbs in these verses, whether it's God's or us taking up the cause of the downtrodden. Look how many times you can see words like rescue, defend, and speak up. There are so many powerful, simply verses that beg a response from us. God doesn't just say, remember the poor, or pray for the poor. Though both of these things are good and important, he calls us to be his hands and feet in a hurting world, to actually do something, and not that we should ever give to get, but God promises to reward us when we do, and how kind of our Father. So let's take a look at the Bible verses about helping the poor to heart and act on behalf of the extreme poor and the needy. In Isaiah 58, 6-8, is not this the kind of feasting I have chosen, to loosen the chains of injustice and untie the cords of the yoke, to set the oppressed free and break every yoke? Is it not to share your food with the hungry, and to provide the poor wanderer with shelter, when you see the naked to clothe them, and not to turn away from your own flesh and blood? Then your heart will break forth like the dawn, and your healing will quickly appear. Then your righteousness will go before you, and the glory of the Lord will be your rear guard. So our giving to the poor and our kind-heartedness goes before us to heaven, and our blessing is waiting there for us. So as we close tonight, dear Lord, may you develop in us a love to help those in need according to each of our abilities. May the good Lord bless and keep us till we meet again next Wednesday night. And there are 20 verses in here that I have put in here that was pulled up. And I'm not going to go through all 20 of them, but if you want me to put them on your Facebook page or something, I will gladly put them on there. But may the good Lord bless and keep us till we meet again next Wednesday night. Good night, and may the Lord bless all of you as we listen to his word. And thank you for the privilege of being with you tonight.